Halo's Firefight has stood the test of time throughout multiple eras of the franchise, and in all honesty, that's very surprising. Horde modes surged in popularity in the early 2000s thanks to their simple yet addictive gameplay loop. First popularized by Gears of War 2 in 2008, the format quickly gained traction with COD zombies dominating the genre for years to come. The growing demand for multiplayer and co-op content caught the attention of publishers, leading Microsoft to bring the concept to their flagship franchise, Halo. But these modes were supposed to be an imprint of the era. They were never supposed to stand the test of time, and surprisingly, Firefight did. But it didn't come without controversy, and if you know Halo, you know there's always controversy. Halo 3 ODST introduced Firefight as the franchise take on a Horde mode formula, and while it didn't reinvent the wheel, it brought Halo's signature sandbox and enemy AI into a survival setting that is difficult because of the gameplay changes going from a Spartan to an ODST, the Endure Firefight challenge being one of the most difficult vidmasters of all time because of it. However, that's where the controversy came into place. It came with a trade-off. ODST didn't launch with its own traditional multiplayer, instead bundling Halo 3's multiplayer disc while being priced as a fully priced release, which caused a lot of backlash at the time, as fans who already paid for that DLC had to re-buy it again, along without getting a new multiplayer experience. It's decisions like these that make people untrustworthy of Microsoft, as ODST Firefight never really truly stuck around once Reach released. At least not until we got MCC and the Firefight updates many years later. But that was Bungie's first attempt on adding a Horde mode, and you only needed to wait a year to see how they would improve on that formula. Halo Reach took the foundation laid by ODST's Firefight and expanded it into a fully customizable and replayable experience, designing it from the ground up to be a lot more arcadey than its previous iteration, and for that, it saw a lot more success. With Reach, Bungie added new enemy types, weapons, and most importantly, a ton of options for the player to choose. Players could tweak nearly every element: enemy waves, skulls, loadouts. You could even play as an elite and attack the enemy players, or you could go into more tactical modes like a generator defense. The sandbox was more dynamic, bolstered by Reach's armor abilities, refined AI, giving each round a unique flavor. While Firefight still didn't reach the same cultural impact as Zombies or Gears' Horde mode, Reach turned it into a legitimate pillar of Halo's content offering, especially for players who wanted to take a break from PvP without sacrificing credits or challenges. Too bad nobody else thought about that for a while. Firefight was notably absent in Halo 4, but it finally returned in Halo 5, just not the way you think it would in Warzone Firefight. On paper, it seemed pretty smart, especially with the size of these Warzone maps, and in practice, it definitely was more fun than the standard Warzone. But it was also weighed down by the rec system, which locked the best weapons and vehicles behind random drops or grinding. Also, there's a ton of downtime between rounds, and especially if you die, you're locked in a loading screen watching the action. The AI were overpowered bullet sponges designed to punish rather than challenge. Warzone Firefight had ambition and scope, but the heart of what made classic Firefight great, tight co-op design, smart AI, player-driven strategy, was buried beneath systems that prioritized grinding over gameplay. And then Firefight disappeared from the public eye for almost a decade. Hell, that's almost as long as it took 343 to create another Halo game. The potential of Halo Infinite was quite literally infinite, and when Forge released usable enemy AI, it almost felt certain we were going to get a Firefight experience at some point, if Infinite Skeleton Crew of a development team could scrape something together eventually. Firefight in this game feels a lot closer to ODST than anything else. Its modes are incredibly simple. The difficulty spike is there depending on the modes that you are playing, as I have failed quite a few times, and they also solve the issue of map shortages by making every multiplayer map usable for Firefight. but it doesn't come without its own drawbacks, being that of the XP system. The XP earnings potential through Firefight is so grand, so people only looking to rank up the battle pass can keep you captive in a Firefight game for a long time, as it doesn't just end. You can just keep repeating the rounds over and over again, and if you exit, you don't receive anything. I personally have experienced this a few times, and I hate it. It's scummy as hell, and being annoying into a community that's already pretty much dead in the water is so disheartening to see for modern Halo. And it may be only a few voices, but as we know, those few voices are always the loudest. So although I really enjoyed playing Infinite Firefight, I don't want to waste my time with the potential of not getting a reward. Despite how developers think PvE modes are incredibly important to a game's staying power, there's only so much multiplayer that you can play at the drop of a dime, and that's why Call of Duty Zombies has still existed for almost the exact same time Firefight has. But while the bones of Zombies has stayed the same, it's shifted its focus away from being a simple horde mode. And that's where I believe Firefight shines. It's never wanted to do anything else but have rounds upon rounds of Covenant swarming into the map. And although it has experimented along the way just like Zombies, in one way or another, it has always returned back to what it was. The biggest case there is Warzone Firefight. It strays far away from the deviation, but being that game's most popular mode during the end of its life cycle matters to why these types of modes should continue to exist in gaming for years to come. They're not flashy, they're not meant to sell you skins or battle passes. They're there for you to have a good time. That's something like a game like Rainbow Six Siege failed to understand, taking away that hunt mode from the base game. As we shift more and more into modern gaming, it's hard not to feel nostalgic for the things that got left behind. Even today's modern Call of Duty fans wish for old Zombies to return. Yet in Firefight, I feel like we have gotten through that pretty much unscathed. And although Infinite's player base are kind of assholes on Firefight, that's something the mode itself can't determine. Firefight has gone from controversial to wanting to be a mainstay in every Halo to come, and that's thanks to its consistent output of enjoyment. It may be the exact same thing over and over again. You may be only able to play it for 2 games at a time before putting it down, but it's always there regardless of the era, and that's something you can't take away. Do I believe Firefight will launch with the Combat Evolved remake or even Halo 7? Truth be told, no. But I know somehow, some way, it will show up again. Because that's just what Firefight does. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy what I do, maybe consider checking out some other stuff. Thank you so much.